What's up, my friend? Welcome back to another video. So today we're taking a look at a couple more performance samples libraries, and this is covering Oceania 1 and 2 for the upcoming release of Oceania 3, which I kind of started a thread on for VI control, and it's one of the fastest growing threads that I've ever created, which I'm very proud of. But anyway, this will be a really quick look. I just want to compare both of these for you, and literally at the time of this recording, Jasper has just updated the tab for Oceania 3 to not say coming soon, but if you click it, you literally see 3 choirs in 1 coming 2023. So that's a kind of a big concept. We'll see what that actually means. I have no idea. Of course, I'm recording this on March 8th, so quite in advance of you seeing this, but hopefully by the time it comes out, we'll have some more information. But anyway, let me just quickly get into these two choirs here. So Oceania 1 is a 48 singer thematic choir, so 24 women and 24 men with 10 syllables, true repetition sampling, 2 types of releases with multiple control options, and so on and so forth. And the choir size is quite small, 2.1 gigabytes, and you need full contact for both of them, for this library and also for the other one. Let's take a look at Oceania 2. This kind of doubles the size with 100 singer thematic choir. And it says, Jasper says it improves upon the original Oceania with twice the ensemble size, more syllables, and 2 speeds of releases, the faster of which helps for fast phrases. And both libraries were created using phrases chopped out of connected performances, which allows the energy to basically feel more alive and create a more realistic performance when you want those faster staccato sort of passages. You get 12 syllables, again, 2 release speeds. Let's see, 2 release suffix types per speed, so normal N1s ending in S, which is really, really cool. If you want any syllable to have an S at the very end, you can do that with a sustain pedal or via velocity. And then this one's slightly bigger as well, 3.58 gigabytes. Now, the reason why these libraries are able to be so small is because they're really only sampling or really only creating staccato and, marcato sort of phrases. You don't get legato, you don't really get well, you do get sustained, right? Because if you hold the notes for a longer period of time, the voices will just carry on, but you don't have legato in this library. So this is mainly meant for those faster sort of phrases. So I've pulled up Oceania 1 here. You can see we have basically 4 different patches. Let me just see here. We have kind of a multi here where you can have all sections, quick start octave doubling. So it kind of puts the men a little bit lower. So you have the men main, you have men rise, men shouts, and then the woman main as well. But then Oceania 2 expands upon this with the full-fledged woman sections as well. So we have men main, men risers, and men whispers, but we also have women main, women risers, and women whispers as well. So because Oceania 2 is a lot larger, you would expect that sound to be a bit bigger as well. We're going to hear that, but let's start with the woman main. Let's just play some of these staccato passages here. So. All right, first impressions, for me at least, very full sound, great quality. In terms of functionality, I really like how by default the key switches basically cycle through, one semitone at a time. So you hear each syllable very, very clearly. And even for those faster passages, the library holds up quite easily, which is great. And that's kind of what Jasper intended. Now, what's really cool is if you're playing polyphonically, if you have more than one note, that same syllable will apply for all the notes that you're playing at the same time. Even if you're playing a broken chord, as long as you hold the initial note down. For example, if I want to play a B flat major chord, B flat, it starts that syllable, but now if I add in the D and the F, those D and F notes are still singing that same syllable that was being triggered when I played the B flat. So that just adds to the cohesion, right? That means that you won't get, the woman singing one syllable on the B flat and then the other woman singing a different syllable on the D and a different syllable on the F. You get all the same syllable as long as you're holding down the notes within that one chord, which is nice. Now, of course, you don't have to limit yourself to these key switches or to this order at least. You can also go through and force the key switch as you want, but then afterwards the engine will continue to cycle through as it's designed, right? So yeah, that's basically the woman main there for Oceania 1. Let's hear the men here as well. All right. So yeah, the men sound just as good as the women. Nice big range here as well. You get a low D all the way to kind of a high A there. A lot of male choirs I see, they kind of sample from maybe the E to the G or so. So it's nice to have that little bit of extra range when you want those notes there. Nice. Okay, and then let's go to these smaller patches really quickly. We have some risers in the men. So some longer and some shorter, and then we have some dedicated shouts. Yeah, really cool for those kind of pointed, shorter moments or choir moments where you want that jab of intensity. All right, then moving on to Oceania 2. By the way, out of the box, it's quite a lot louder than Oceania 1. So you notice how Oceania 1, I've set it to the regular default volume, but Oceania 2, I've basically had to lower the volume to about -4 or -5. So yeah, let's hear the women choir here. And by the way, the Oceania 2 choir also has a bit more of an extended range. So the women, we have that low D all the way to a high, geez, that high D there as well. So it's like 1, 2, yeah, it's like 3 octaves. 1, 2, right there. I'm gonna have to lower the volume when I play that note, but let's hear this a little bit. Yeah, so some of the volume there was kind of spiking. I think it's because I had the mod wheel all the way up. So I brought it back to kind of the middle there, and you notice the volume didn't spike quite as much. But yeah, I just like the functionality of being able to play super short notes, and the release sample basically keeps up and allows you to basically continue playing fast because the release compensates for the following note that you play. And also, if I want to hold a longer sustain at the end of a phrase, I can always hold it, and it carries on as long as I want it to play. So it kind of is like the regular or Marcato patch in, let's say, Pacific, where you can play super short, super fast passages, and it still sounds like a really biting staccato or spiccato. And then when you really want that sustain, then you can also hold down the note, and it drags on for as long as you need to. So it's a good multi-purpose patch, and this library does that really well. I did mention that we have the additional functionality of having the S at the very end of the syllable. So again, you can choose between velocity. If you play a little softer, you don't get the S at the end, but if you play harder, then you get the S at the end. You can also switch this to sustain pedal, so with it up, you don't get the S, but if you press it down, then you get the S there as well. So whatever functionality works for you. I personally would probably go with velocity myself. When I think of sustain pedal, I really only like to use it on the piano anyway, and then maybe for rebos for string samples, but other than that, I kind of like to leave it on velocity. Okay, let's go to the men. All right, here we go. Yeah, and again, we get the 4-octave range here from the super low D to that high D, so that's awesome. Yeah. So yeah, before we move on, I think the general question comes up, like, which one is actually better for you, like for your general purposes, because some people just don't want to buy both, right? Which is totally fair. Although I think Jesper does have an Oceania bundle as well on the website for a discounted price, I believe. So if you want to grab both, you certainly can. But if you're just looking for one, I think it does depend on your specific purposes. Oceania 2, like we talked about, is naturally a bit larger, not a bit, but double the size. Plus, it also has the addition of the woman risers and whispers as well. So if you like that, then you definitely want to consider this library because it has that larger sound, but also a bit more flexibility with those effects there as well. Whereas for Oceania 1, it's a smaller sound. So if you want a smaller ensemble and and you don't really care about, let's say, the men effects, then this is totally good for your purposes as well. I don't think there really is a right or wrong here. Oceania 2 might feel slightly over the top for your purposes, so that's definitely something to look into or consider, whereas Oceania 1 feels slightly more restrained. But I don't know. I feel like Oceania 2 is a pretty good all-purpose short syllable library for choir anyway. So if you have Oceania 2, I could pretty solidly say you're not missing too much in Oceania 1, but also vice versa could be true as well. The actual sound of the libraries are very similar. And I'll be completely honest, like I can't really tell that much of a difference between 1 and 2 in terms of the ensemble size. Both the women and the men in both libraries feel that it's a lot of singers. They're all singing together, and the impact of the additional 50 singers in Oceania 2, I'm sure it's definitely there, and I can hear that a little bit, but for me, it's not enough of a discernible difference to really make or break the choice between the first or the second volume, So, yeah, that's just my personal thought, but I think the thing I'm most impressed with is the fact that we can switch between the syllables so quickly. Other libraries don't really account for that additional release type. So the syllables can end up blending together a bit more than you like. But with Oceania 2, it's literally designed for fast playing if you need to. And so you're going to get super clean cutoffs when you hear the following syllable every time, which is nice. Okay, enough talking. Let me just go through the rest of these effects here in Oceania 2. Yeah, so for the whispers, you also get multiple syllables that cycle automatically as you go through them as well. Cool. Yeah, so that's a quick look at Oceania 1 and 2. Hopefully gave you an idea of what they both sound like. And if you're on the market for either one or you're considering both, maybe this helps clear up just a little bit the differences between them and what you can come to expect. Again, if you're trying to choose one over the other, I think I would choose Oceania 2 to start because it really does everything Oceania 1 does, but it just kind of takes that to the next level in terms of ensemble size, but also the functionality. Again, you can also, select the S at the end if you want to through velocity and sustain pedal. You get really nice tight release samples. You can play pretty fast for both libraries. So again, it's like they're both really good libraries for this purpose, and I don't think there's a right or wrong here. So it definitely comes down to what your personal preference is, but I don't think you could go wrong with either if you need those short staccato choir samples from performance samples. So hopefully that gave you an idea. Thanks again for watching. Again, if you want to download my sample library buyer's guide containing all my personal sample library recommendations in one cohesive document, and I want to give it to you absolutely free, you can click the first link in the box below, grab it, and just keep it on hand as a buyer's guide in case you're interested on my personal thoughts on these libraries that I use on a regular basis. You can just refer to it anytime, and maybe if you're on the market for something new and you're interested in seeing if I use the library myself, then you can check and reference the guide as well to see if it's in there. I've also listed the prices, the utility, so I wanted to make it as easy as possible to use, and hopefully it helps you out. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one, and take care. Bye-bye.